Hello again. Welcome back to this introduction to Inkscape. This is part 2. I think in this we'll be talking about the Bezier tool and drawing with it, and we'll also talk about layers. And so I'm going to give you an example of show you what layers are and a good example of why they're used. So let's take a look at my screen. So here is a drawing of a decorative letter A, and when you're making a drawing that could be complex, you might want to consider using layers. And this is how it works. Up here in the menu there's layers, and you can open the layers panel right here. It's also here, I think, so let's just click that. So when you click that, it opens here, and maybe I can make this a little bigger. I keep these minimum if possible. So this has 3 layers. So I'm going to shut off the top layer, and now I'm going to shut off the middle layer. So this is the background. So what I've done, and I've taken the background decoration, I put it on its own layer. Then I added a new layer, which is the letter. And then I added a new layer, which is the decoration. And you can shut off any of these layers so that they're not visible. Here there's a symbol of an eye, which means the layer can be visible or invisible. And there is a symbol of a lock. So if you lock the layer, so the background is locked, I cannot select it. If I unlock it, I can select it. So once it's locked, you can't touch it anymore. You can't do anything with it. And if you make it invisible, it's still there, but it's not visible. And it probably won't be printed, but I haven't tried that. So if I lock all the layers except the top layer, and I select everything, I'm only selecting the decorative flowers. So it's a good way to organize your drawing in case later you want to go back and make changes to one part. It's easier to find. If you'll notice the word opacity here, so I could take, if I click the top decoration and I move the opacity down, then the decoration becomes, now it's at 48% visibility. And you can do that with all the layers, even if they're locked. This can still works. To add a new layer, you simply click on the plus sign and it adds a new layer. You can give it a name if you want. This is remembering the last name, so I'm going to say just new, and I'm going to add, and I'm going to lock all the other layers. So now if I draw on this layer, it doesn't affect the layers below. So that's quite easy to use, to add and control these. So if I want it, now this layer is on top, as you see. If I want to move this layer to, say, lower down, I just click on it, I grab it, and then I let go where it is. And now I've put it above the background, but above the letter A. I'm going to bring my decoration back. Top decoration, I like it to be fully visible. So that's simply how layers work. They're really, I use layers a lot. It really helps if you're building a complicated thing where you can lock the background and still see it without having to worry about accidentally selecting it or moving it or changing it. So that's one of the advantages of that. So I recommend you get used to using the layers. And I showed you this particularly for a reason, because when I show you the Bezier tool, I'm going to be using layers. So I'm going to create a new document. So in this new document, I'm going to import the drawing of the lizard I did. So I come up here to import, and I find the drawing. There it is. Double click it. I say OK, and there it is. So it's rather big. So let's fit it to the page. I'm holding down Control. If I don't hold down Control, it could end up getting out of proportion. Now it really doesn't matter what size it is in the end, because we're working in a vector program, so the vector program will be fully scalable to anything I want. So here we are. It's on the page well enough. And now as I draw on top of this, I don't want to be accidentally clicking on it and accidentally moving it. It would be quite annoying. So what I'm going to do is come up here to the layers. I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to call this lizard. I'll just call it Liz. That'll help, just for me to identify what each layer is. And the bottom layer, I'm going to click on the bottom layer again, and I'm going to bring the opacity down to about 40%. I want to see it, but I don't want it to be very, very strong. So I come back up to the top layer, and before I begin, I'm going to lock the bottom layer. So layer 1 is visible, but it's locked. So now I can draw on top of it and make a vector out of this without having the problem of accidentally moving it or selecting it. So now I'm going to select the Bezier tool, and with my finger on the control, I can scroll my mouse wheel closer in to see what I'm doing. And I'll be doing this throughout the whole time I'm drawing. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to hold down my mouse now before I let go and start a curve. And I'm going to do that again. I'm holding down my mouse and I'm drawing the curve there, and then I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So I hold down my mouse and I drag this to where, on top of where I can see the drawing underneath, so it sort of follows my drawing. It doesn't have to be perfect now, because you can go back and fix it later. You can later add points and remove points. Like this isn't looking, well, that's getting pretty good. Okay, that went wrong. So I'm going to backspace. Maybe I'll do it a shorter curve. You don't have to get this perfect the first time. Okay, I'm going to hit Enter now to close that. I can come up here and I can fix some of the things that I didn't think looked good. Now, when I select this node here, I can try to fix it. I don't know why the handles weren't visible then, but I can see that this, when I was doing the drawing, it didn't make these smooth. It made them cusp. But it will be much better if these are all smooth. So I'm going to select these three by dragging over them, and I'm going to hit the smooth button. And I'm going to do it with all of them. Smooth. Smooth. Now, see what happened when I made the smooth. It did something. So I'm going to move this handle. This curve doesn't look right. Actually, I don't think I need that node at all. It might be better without that node. Maybe this I don't need. Immediately it looks like a smoother curve. In principle, the less nodes you have, the better. This is not smooth. The less nodes you have, the better chances you have of making a smooth curve. Now I know none of these are smooth, so I'm going to select them all and click the smooth. I'm happy with that. Now I'm drawing the whole body, so the whole body will be a nice shape. And then when I add these, draw the legs, I will add them later. Okay, so now I'm going to grab my Bezier. This is selected, and I'm going to grab my Bezier tool, and I'm going to move right on top of that. And you see when it turns red, it means it's going to continue from drawing from there. And now it closed the curve. Select my path edit tool. And I'm going to select this one and this one, this one, and this one, and I'm going to make them smooth. Hope it worked. So let's look at the tail. I want this to follow the first line I did pretty well. That's not bad. Zoom out. Do I need this node? I don't believe I will need this node, so I'm going to get rid of it and move this here. Now, one thing I want to do now is I'm pretty happy with this, except I don't like the point here. I like it to be round. So I'm going to add a point here by double clicking and add a point here by double clicking. I'm going to select this and hit delete. So then I can move these down to make it look a little round. Zoom out. And now I'm going to give this a fill to see the shape better. And I think I'm going to make this a little smaller, that part. In principle, these handles for a curve should never intersect. They should never go past each other. You never have a good curve. It's never pretty like that. So I'm going to hit undo. But that's a good principle to keep in mind, is to keep the relationship between these pretty even. That they should never cross these two handles if you want a smooth, nice looking curve. Now there's no right way and wrong way to do this. whatever you like. So now I'm pretty happy with that. You don't have to follow the original drawing if you find you can improve it a bit. Okay. So the reason I drew the whole body is that this shape would be smooth rather than just trying to get the legs and then hoping I would get the body smooth. So what I'm going to do now is just start drawing the legs. So I'm going to just start drawing some circles here, where the paws should kind of, or the whatever these are, where the feet would be. I'd like these closer together. I like them spread evenly. And now I'm going to start my Bezier tool. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. And I'm going to draw. Now I'm going to draw the foot. And I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to use straight lines for a moment. And I'll show you why. It's a little easier to control Okay, let's combine them. So I have something like that. I'm going to select all of these nodes and I'm going to make them curves. Now I'm going to take this and this I'm going to curve the lines now. It's a little easier to control it this way than the other way. This one too. Okay. Now I'm going to select the circles and I'm going to come up to path and say union. Now I have to take away some of these extra points that were created to make the feet smoother. Something is here that I don't like. Okay. Well, that's okay. So I'm going to give this a color, gray. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit copy paste. So this is copy, this is paste. I'm going to rotate it now and put it about there. I'm going to hit paste again because I need another one. Paste. Okay, so now I have all the feet. Now I need to continue drawing so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to start drawing above it a little bit. And then I can fix shapes a little later. Okay, I'm going to close that. I'm not totally happy with that, but I'm not really interested in any anatomical exactness. So I've selected these two things, and I'm going to hit Path and Union, and it will join them together. Now I'm going to make it smooth. I'm going to add a point here, and I'm going to take these away, and then it's a smooth line. Same thing with this. I'm going to select this and select the body, and I'm going to say Path and Union. So I'd like this to be a little smoother, and I'd like this to be a little smoother. Okay, good enough. Same thing with this. Come back to my Bezier tool, and I'm going to, don't need this selected anymore. So I'm gonna hit Weld, Path Union, and I'm going to try to fix this now. Let's actually delete that node and make this longer this way. Move this there. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to weld these. Actually, it's not called weld in Inkscape. It's called Union. I mostly use Coral Draw, and it's called weld there. So that's why I say that. I started using Coral Draw before Inkscape existed. So I'm used to that program, and that's the program I generally work in. I also have Adobe Illustrator, which I also like. Illustrator does some things better than other programs, so but I'm still more used to Coral Draw. So back to here now to finish this leg. So let's go this way to here. Okay, Weld Union. So I'm not quite happy with this. I'd like this to be smoother. This one too. I'm using the control button all the time when I'm scrolling. I'd like this to be smooth. Okay, I'm going to select both of these, and I'm going to hit Path and Union, and then I'm going to fix this. That's okay, but this could be a little smoother. And I'm going to delete this point and make this longer. Then I'm going to add a point here and delete this point. And I'm not going to smooth that, I'm just going to make it look smoother. Let's zoom out a little bit. I think this path, that's okay, but this line could be a little bit better. Okay, so now we get one more leg, and start here. Okay, so where's those points? Did they join? I can tell if they joined by adding, looks like they joined. I'm going to move this, I didn't join. Okay, now I'm going to join them. Didn't work. If I say union, yeah, but there's an open section here. Something is open. I know I did it wrong. Let's get rid of that. Okay. So I'm going to select this and go Path and Union. So there I have one shape. So that's how I got my lizard as a vector. I think this arm looks a little strange. Maybe it's just too fat. Let's get rid of that point. Okay. Nice thing about the lizards is because you can make them really colorful. So now I can unlock my first layer, and I can delete my first layer, delete current layer. And all I have left is my lizard layer. And that's it. So that's a little bit example of how to use the Bezier tool and how to use layers. So I hope that will help you move along a little bit in your own learning. So practice some of that. If you have questions, leave me a comment, and good luck. Okay, thanks.